It's
There is a break in the construction outside of my house, and I will do a Q&A Friday for you guys right now. So let's get started. First question is from Glass Castle. Hey Steele, technical question. Active braking, do you use it? If not, why? What type of flying would you recommend it for? Thanks for the response and continued inspiration. So, now there's beeping, but I will continue to answer this question. So active braking, it's something that's pretty much naturally in all ESCs that are geared towards mini quads these days. So you're not really going to be able to find an ESC without active braking. What active braking does is it slows the motor down from a higher position to a lower position in throttle range. So if you go to a high throttle position on your stick, on your controller, and then you go down to a lower position, typically what would have happened before active braking is the motor would have slowed down gradually using the drag of the motor and the drag of the prop and the inertia of the motor. It would have just slowed down until it got to that point, and then it would have stayed there or whatever happened. But since we move the throttle so much in a mini quad to maintain altitude and do all these tricks and stuff, it was kind of imperative that it actually forced the motor to the position that we went to. So if we went from 100% to 50%, we wanted it to force it as quickly as possible from 100% to 50% instead of letting it lag and get there over time, which is not that much time, but it is enough time to notice a difference. And I guess before active braking, the quads were floatier because you would go up and then you'd try to come back down and it would be like, ooh, and like go. It's not that big of a deal, but it is definitely faster and it makes the quad more responsive and more predictable. So that is what active braking is and where it came from and why we use it. And you're not going to be able to use mini quad geared ESC without active braking. So yeah, I use it all the time because it's there. It's on KISS ESCs. It's on every ESC that I'm aware of. So let's go to the next question. I hope that answered your question, Mr. Glass Castle. Robert Williams, this is Q&A Friday. What stardom will quad pilots, racers hit in the next 5 years? What is it going to look like? You and Rotor Riot guys, etc. are clearly the first fledgling stars in the industry. What is the future state of the stars in the sport? Keep up the great work, broadcasting, continue to inspire an army of newcomers. So as far as stars and legends and stuff coming out in the next 5 years. 5 years is a long time for this industry. It's definitely come a leaps and bounds in the last 2 years. I would say even the last year. We've kind of hit a plateau in the last 6 months or so as far as technology is concerned. We're just kind of flailing around, making minimal increment like performance increases here and there, but really the battery technology is what's slowing us down right now. The battery technology needs to get more practical as far as lighter weight and more power output, and until that happens I think we're going to be kind of stuck, but that again is my personal opinion. But as far as a mainstream sport, pushing this into like mainstream like NASCAR or something, there are a lot of people trying to do it. I don't know if it will actually happen, but I definitely think it will maintain its community-esque, very niche, fun, like loving social network that we have going on right now. It would definitely maintain that kind of mentality where people are going out saying, hey, like I do this because I love it. I do it because I have a social network revolved around this hobby, which is how all hobbies start. Not all hobbies go mainstream. And I think that's part of why I like this, is it's not necessarily mainstream. If it went mainstream, I might not like it as much. So as far as the next 5 years, no idea. As far as the next year, still no idea. As far as like legends go, I know that Carlos and Sharpoo's name will always be a legend in the FPV community regardless of what happens in the next 5 years. So that being said, I hope that answered your questions. I don't know if I did. This is the next one. It says Q&A. You mentioned, this is from Jax Wild. He says in your Q&A, for your Q&A, hey Steele, you mentioned in the evading police with a ninja drone video that you've been working on a lower KV motor that would be good for 6-inch setups. When can we expect to see these come out on the market, and will they be the same color scheme as the Rotor Riot Butter Quad? So no, they won't be the same color scheme as the Rotor Riot Butter Quad that I'm aware of, because Rotor Riot Butter Quad and me working with TBS making motors, not the same thing. But at the same time, maybe I'll work with TBS and Rotor Riot as a collaborative thing, and we'll come out with a 6-inch motor. I'm not 100% sure. But as far as keeping this short, I have been working on a 6-inch motor. There's been some prototypes. I haven't tested them in probably 3 or 4 months because I was doing the 6-inch testing when I was doing the 5-inch testing for the motor that's currently out, which is the Mr. Steele 2306 2345 kV that's geared towards 5-inch props. But I will say that you can add an extra winding on that motor, and I have tried it, and we changed the magnets out, and we were gearing it towards a 6-inch prop, which was the same stator 2306, and it was a little bit lower kV, around 2000, 2100 kV. I think we even tried 2200, and all that stuff was looking really good as far as 6-inch motors were concerned. But I just wanted to focus on one thing, so I went with the 5-inch motor first, and eventually the 6-inch motor will come out. I can't say when it will come out, but I can guarantee you it will probably be before the end of the year. I know that's a long time, but I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. This next question is from King Sambo, and he says, haha, nice pad, how long have you had that bed frame? So my red bed frame that I showed you in my little Q&A walkthrough last week, I've had that thing for like 25 years. So yeah, a long time. I probably need to get a new one, but you know, it works. Whatever. I can store stuff under my bed. That's cool. This is from Matt Viverit. I don't know if I pronounced your name right, so I'm sorry if I didn't. Can you share some more about the complaint? Oh my God! Wow, I can't read. Can you share more about the complaint and the FAA meeting? I would be interested to know how they handled the complaints. I was under the impression that being a hobbyist was actually, quote unquote, you wouldn't think it, less restrictive than a 107 at this point in time, because the FAA is still trying to decide how to regulate hobbyists. Until they do, it's a gray area, whereas the 107 commercial purposes, the lines have been drawn. Is that inconsistent with your understanding? Congrats on the new apartment. So Matt, that is pretty consistent with what I was under the impression of until I went and had the meeting with the FAA. So as far as complaints are concerned, if someone files a formal complaint against you as a person or as a video of that you've put up, then the FAA has to, by law, investigate that video or that person. So depending on the offense, whatever they're claiming you've done wrong or whatever they're claiming you did, they have to investigate it. And that, instead of like immediately just sending you to court and prosecuting you, they have a pretty cool way of going about it, where they actually will go out and try to get in touch with you and try to have a meeting with you, and they'll talk to you about maybe what you've done wrong or what you can change to prevent what you've done wrong from being brought up again. So they have to investigate it in some way, shape, or form. So they got in touch with me as in like the Atlanta FSDO, all these guys that are working there as far as the FAA is concerned, and the National Airspace Safety Program here in Atlanta area. They got together, the top 6 guys, and I went in and had a meeting with them. And honestly, I just talked to them about drones for an hour or so. I talked to them about what I do. I talked to them about what kind of drones I'm flying. I'm talking about the limitations. Like, they didn't realize that you can only fly these things for like 1.5 to 3 minutes. They didn't realize the range limitations that you have, and they definitely were very welcoming for all of this information. So it's cool that they're willing to work with you, and they are willing to work with people that are promoting the hobby in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, if it's like flying, I don't want to say what I was thinking just in my head. You're not flying at airports and stuff like that. You're not doing stuff that is as dangerous. You're trying to maintain a safe way to fly these things. But I will say that as a hobbyist, you are actually, you have a lot more limitations, and I can't go into all the details right now because it would take forever, but I might be able to do a video, me and Stingy or something, and might do that on a Rotor Riot, where we talk about what hobbyists do versus what you can do with a Part 107. Basically, with the Part 107, just in a nutshell, you can essentially do pretty much whatever you want with a waiver. If you can't do it without a waiver, then yeah, you're probably not going to be able to do it anyways. But for the most part, you can do it because you're being paid to do it, and you have that experience, or you've taken the classes and you know what to do to make these things safe. Whereas a hobbyist, they don't know that you know these things, so they're a little more restrictive as far as that is concerned. Also, if you're doing anything professionally, if you're making YouTube videos, that is considered being a professional hobbyist. So these guys that are making videos out there that do not have a Part 107, that are generating income or making money off of this stuff on YouTube, are technically breaking the law. I don't want to go into any details as far as who is doing that and who is not, but just letting you guys know, if you do get a complaint, you don't have your Part 107, and you're making money off this stuff either through sponsorships or through YouTube, then you're technically going to be breaking the law, and they can potentially do stuff for you or make you not have a good day. This is from the Engineering Cooper. He says, Q&A, have you ever played paintball? Yes, I played paintball a long time ago, like pump action guns. It was fun, but I don't know if I would do it again because I don't want to get shot with a paintball gun. This is from David Axio. I don't know. He said, questions. What was your parents' reaction to when I moved out? I think they're a little in shock, but you know, whatever. We've been there for a long time. I'm an only child, and I've traveled a lot, so I wasn't necessarily home all the time when I was at home. That was kind of the reason I didn't move out, is because I was traveling so much. There was really no point in me spending money on rent when I was traveling so much. So yeah, that's been the last 3 years of my life, has been traveling and doing stuff and not being home. And I just decided I needed to move out recently, and it was all because of new financial areas. I've gotten into a place where I've made enough money with either not necessarily YouTube, but through all of my things to do in a hobby, that I could live on my own and make things a reality as far as this as a career. It says, what's the hardest thing about being a YouTuber / drone pilot? Who helped you the most get along the way, and how did they help you? Wow, this is going to be a long question. I'm going to try to keep this short. Hardest thing about being a YouTuber and a drone pilot? Hardest thing about being a drone pilot and a YouTuber is the fact that everyone wants to always see drone footage. And drone footage is cool, but to push the limits and bring something interesting to the table every single day, especially consistently, like 2 to 3 days a week, that's pretty difficult to do. So that is the most challenging thing, coming up with new material to keep people interested. And then as far as who has helped me along the way, I think honestly the friendships I've made through the industry, through like Stinger Swarm, Kevin, Kevin, all the Rotor Riot guys, Tommy, Chad, Carlos, Chad Capper, all of these people that have helped me just based on being involved and being around all this stuff, mini quads and whatnot. It says, the next question is, where do you see yourself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, both career, personal growth, inspiration, interests? Wow, a year, I have no freaking idea. 5 years, I really have no freaking idea. 10 years, I hope I'm still alive. I probably will be, but I have no idea, and I'm sorry, I don't have any answers for that. Let's go. What is this? Spooner C. I think I've watched all your videos, and I have one question right now. Do you or do you not use Crest white strips? I have used them in the past. I don't now. My teeth are just kind of naturally white from brushing them, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. And let's see. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Objectively Yiski says, let's see a quad base jumping squirrel wing suit video. I definitely want to do that. I've been kind of thinking about trying that with someone else. However, the envelope of speed for a wingsuit is like pretty high, and a mini quad can only do so much speed, so it might have to be something we do with a wing, but I will try my best to make that happen. I've got some pretty good connections in the wingsuiting, base jumping area. Might do something really cool with base jumping. So now let's go to one of these other guys. Sorry, I'm like having trouble finding ones. I went through them, but I'm slowing down, and I'm sorry. Oh, it's already 13 minutes. Let's actually do one more, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, Dear Steele, have you ever injured yourself through flying, getting cut by propellers? So yes, I have injured myself, and it was pretty bad, actually. I'll tell you a little quick story. I was trying to tune a Blackout 330, like right when they came out. This was like right when the Blackout, people thought that running 2208 2000 kV motors on 6x4.5 props on a larger quad running a 2200 milliamp 4-cell, which was a 330 millimeter quad that had a GoPro cage, and it was like going to be the next level shit. That was like the next best thing. However, ESCs were massive at the time, and it was really difficult to put ESCs underneath in this little tray that they built for this particular quadcopter. So I went and bought some ESCs that I thought would work. They were Castle Creations 25 amps, specifically made for quadcopters, and I put them on the quad. At the time, loop time and all of these things as far as how quickly the ESC could respond to the flight controller's inputs were very important, but little did I know that that was the problem. I put some PID numbers in, just like very low generic ones with these ESCs, and the quad would like spool up and just and like fall over. And I was like, what the heck's going on? After troubleshooting that for like 2 days, literally putting the PIDs at like almost 0 and going out and trying to do it, it would still oscillate and flip over and do all kinds of stuff. So what I thought I would do is I thought I'd swap the flight controller because maybe the gyro is bad, and then I put it on between 2 benches with 2 strings, okay? So that instead of going outside and like throttling up and it flipping over and crashing and breaking propeller every time, because I was buying propellers, and at this time propellers were pretty expensive. I want to say it was like $6 for 4, or maybe even more than that, maybe $8 for 4 6x4.5 HQs. And I put it on in between 2 things attached with a string. And to arm it, you had to have the quad upright. So I would arm it, and it didn't spool up or anything, but I armed it. And as soon as I armed it, even though I didn't have air mode or anything like that, it didn't spool up as soon as I armed it. When I armed it, the quad went full throttle on one side for some weird, I had no idea why it did this. I still don't know why to date, but it full throttled on one side and flipped over and chopped about 8 things right here in my finger, and I had 28 stitches. I'll post a picture and you guys can see. If you are squeamish, then don't look at it because it's pretty gnarly. That is the only time I've technically been hurt or hurt myself. I will say I got hit in the ankle by Wild Willie about 4 or 5 months ago, but that's really the only other thing that I've had injure me. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. I'm sorry it was really long. I will try to do more of these every single Friday. You guys have a great weekend. Bye.